Hello and welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As you just saw, we have an anniversary celebration happening today. It is the 1-year anniversary of this show.
Yeah, we've done over 90 shows.
We have.
There are some times it seems like we've been doing this, and really we have. We've been rehearsing this thing for 25 years.
Very true.
Since we were about 10 years old. The years went by amazingly fast, though.
It has. You know, I fully believe in a philosophy of days are long, but years are short.
That's very profound.
I like it. Your mom, my grandma, taught me that lesson. She also taught me it could be worse. You could be on fire.
True.
Because I corrected her once, and I was like, well, don't you mean it could be worse? It could be raining. She says, no, why would you be upset that it was raining? Just go play in the rain. And I was like, well done. She's like, if you're on fire,
You got a problem.
not much worse can happen than that. You're pretty focused on what's happening right now. You can definitely still have a good day in the rain. I was like, you are a very smart person.
Ask Jay Leno.
Yeah. But being on fire is probably the worst thing that could happen. I live by that phrase.
It's a perfect phrase. I'm glad Jay Leno was fine. I first heard it, it was like, oh my God. But this year's gone, we've touched on 100,000 different topics, it seems like.
Yeah.
All has been good. The response has been phenomenal.
Yes.
We started out with, we were happy with 20 views or whatever it was.
Yeah.
We're now averaging over 40,000 per episode.
Yeah.
We've got 3,600 subscribers. So thank you to everybody who
37 now.
37.
Yes. Thank you so much for subscribing and being a fan of the show. We really do appreciate it.
But that's enough looking back.
It is. And I need to actually start this show. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man so old that flowers are starting to scare him, my dad, Tim.
No, they're not. I don't have 1 foot in the grave.
Because it's 1 foot and a toe. I mean, we're getting to that point.
We are.
You are what, 68?
1.
61.
Don't push it. But apparently, well, we won't go into the fact that I'm apparently too old for some people, but that's another story.
That's true. We don't need to hear about your dating life.
There is none at all. By the way, thank you very much for Bucky.
Wasn't me, it was the kids.
Got a new addition.
Yes.
I think the proportions are about right. Bucky up here and the nut down there.
Yeah, for sure, considering, Ohio State's in the national championship. See, I don't need to compensate for my fandom. It's fine the way that it is.
I'm proud of our team. I'm proud of our band. Being the only one ever suspended.
Hey, best damn band in the land still is Ohio
Wisconsin.
State.
I watched the bowl game last night. Wisconsin played Oklahoma State.
I fell asleep.
It was on. It started late.
Yeah. Started like 9:15.
Yeah, 9:30 actually. I think was when kickoff was.
Crazy.
Easy to tell there's a new sheriff in town.
Yes.
I thought what he did at the end, the Badgers won. They played very well. Backup quarterback came in and did a very nice job.
They threw a lot more.
And they were very aggressive. I think that's what Pickle's going to do.
Yeah. I
loved what he did at the end of the game. They were interviewing him, but he had Leonard pick up the trophy because it was really his last game.
Yep.
I don't know where he's going to go.
I don't know. He might just take the year off.
I think Paul Chryst will. Leonard's going to be wanted because he's still one of the best defensive coordinators in the country.
He could still come back to Wisconsin. He could take a year off and come right back.
No, I don't think. Well, unless one of Pickle's assistants is taken off. I didn't know he was bringing in Jim Tressel's son.
Yeah.
So
he definitely is. He's even got the vest on, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that during the game.
I did.
I was very excited
to
see the vest on Luke Pickle.
He's watching the show, obviously.
Obviously. The Jim Tressel throwback.
Yes.
I love it. I used to dress the dog for Halloween every year in an Ohio State sweater vest in honor of Jim Tressel.
Yeah, the vest. But I don't know what's going to happen with Wisconsin, but I think it was the absolute right hire.
Yeah.
Fans I've still talked to some people who are still upset that Leonard didn't get the job, and I just think they're insane.
Listen, if there is one thing you and I have discussed in length this year and have come to a consensus of, it's no matter which team it is, fans are dumb.
Yes.
Like, let's be honest, fans are dumb. Even you and I are dumb on certain situations.
We're homers, but we're not idiots. And
We're not idiots.
And I've stolen that line from a local sportscaster who used to use it back in the day. But it's very true. I can be a homer, but I don't have to be an idiot.
It's true. But every fan base has them.
Sure.
Every single fan base has them. It's really funny because living in Florida, I obviously made some really good friends down there, and they unfortunately happen to be Buccaneers fans. And you want to talk about fans that are homers and idiots.
Well,
it is Tampa, at least the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans that I know.
For one thing, they're the most fair weather fans I've ever seen.
It's insane. These guys, I have to say, they're not full on idiots because they watch the show. So I should probably take that back. But they are homers through and through. They're not fair weather fans by any means, but I don't blame them for turning off the games halfway through a season half the time with the Buccaneers.
Well, when we were down there, we lived there for 13, 14 years.
We were there for the Jameis Winston experiment.
Nobody went to the games.
No.
It was back to being more Packer fans than Buccaneers fans when
would
Green Bay came to town. I grew up a Packer fan, so you go whether it's good or bad.
Fair, but at the same time, Jameis Winston is one of the most athletic quarterbacks to ever be on a football field.
Yes.
He's not great by any means. He's great college, great high school. The pro game, I think, is a little too advanced for him, not intellectually or athletically, just he has troubles putting all the tools together. He is a fun quarterback to watch, though. He does the most ridiculous things. Like eating a W off of his fingers.
Yeah, but
there's
a lot of quarterbacks like that. Zach Wilson in New York.
He's done.
He's done.
Where's he going to go?
I don't think he goes anywhere. He'll be a backup for somebody.
He's a number 2 overall pick, former number 2 overall pick. He's going somewhere. Sam Darnold's still getting a chance. Baker Mayfield's still getting chances. Zach Wilson's going to go somewhere.
But it's going to be hard for him to get a starting job because you talk about Baker Mayfield, you talk about some of these other guys, they're still in the game. Zach Wilson seems to, from what I've seen, it's more about him than it is about the game.
Well, how do you not get better? Like, you have a really good team. You have really good wide receivers, as proven by the fact that Joe Flacco's winning games when he comes in. And you're throwing for 77 yards.
It's putting in the time. It's putting in the work. Or was he just really overrated?
I think that's a big part of it. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you got to be catching up with this stuff. You're the quarterback of the team. I've never seen a quarterback not improve the way that Zach Wilson has not improved. Jameis Winston improved. Marcus Mariota improved. You even look at Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf improved. The only quarterback that I didn't see improve was Jamarcus Russell. But that's because he didn't care.
He was done. The minute he got his contract, he was out the door. That's all he wanted.
That's all he wanted. I don't think Zach Wilson's necessarily the contract, but I don't think he sees the reality of the situation that he's in. I think everything, who said it best? I think it was Booger McFarland said it best, where this is a kid who's never faced adversity before. He was so gifted in high school that it doesn't take much to win there.
Right.
He was so gifted at let's be honest, a lower level program that it didn't take much to look impressive in those situations. And all of a sudden, you're playing against all NFL talent. He went from playing maybe against one NFL, maybe two NFL players, maybe one NFL starter per game on a defense. And now everybody you're facing is an NFL starter. That's a different ballgame.
I'll give you a comparison. Jordan Love came from a small school.
Yeah.
Faced no NFL talent.
No.
He had some skills, but to his credit, he's come in, and especially since Tom Clements has gotten there, he's made not only steps forward, he's made huge strides forward. And we're going to talk about this.
But even with bad coaching, I've never seen a quarterback take no steps forward. I can't think of a number 1 overall pick. You look at RG3, he got hurt. That's not his fault. That's the coaching's fault. But it was bad coaching for that situation. Andrew Luck got obviously amazing. He was ready for the show. He was trying to go back in drafts here. Geno Smith has obviously gotten better.
Yeah, and
after years, though.
Andrew Luck was almost the John Elway of his generation.
He was.
He just came in and he had the skills.
Same school, same everything.
Yeah, it was a great...
He really was.
But
man, he has not taken any steps forward. he's really taken steps back. I mean, how do you throw 77 yards when the defense is giving you the ball on a regular basis because they have the best defense in the league? They're winning in spite of you. Even when you go back to the Ravens or the Bears. Now, Jim McMahon was actually a decent quarterback in his day. But you go back to Brad Johnson with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? They didn't win in spite of him.
Serviceable.
Trent Dilfer with the Baltimore Ravens. They didn't win in spite of their quarterback. They didn't win because of, but they didn't win in spite of.
Well, the quarterback didn't make mistakes that was going to hurt you down line and cost you yards.
Zach Wilson just looks like a lost little puppy out there.
He does.
I don't know where he's going to end up. I don't know where he's going to go, but it's a nightmare situation. He really could be out of the league. Who's going to take a chance on him?
I don't know. It's going to be somebody for me, it's going to be somebody who's got a really good starter that he can learn from and is willing to learn from. But
there's the trick.
I could see him going to Arizona.
Maybe he and Rodgers get along. Maybe if Rodgers ends up somewhere else, he can go and back up Rodgers. Otherwise, obviously, we got Jordan Love. But on from one Wilson from New York, let's talk about another Wilson.
Oh, segue. Well done.
In Denver, which is an interesting situation. Hackett gets fired before the season even ends. Doesn't even get a chance to finish, which he had lost the team. So I completely understand.
There were fights on the sidelines. There was no discipline.
The last straw.
Hackett was brought in for one reason. They thought they were going to have Aaron Rodgers.
They did, and it was close. It was very, very close. Our prediction from a long time ago was almost true. Russell Wilson was almost a Green Bay Packer, and Aaron Rodgers was very close to being a Denver Bronco. Aaron Rodgers made the choice to stay in Green Bay.
Thank God.
Thank God. But what's going on? Like, this isn't just Nathaniel Hackett's coaching.
A lot of it is, though. I mean, a lot of it I'm putting on Hackett because
he's made bad decisions.
He was bad in the game decisions. I think there was a bad organization of practices. He certainly didn't have any discipline. That was proven.
It reminded me of Josh McDaniels when he got his first head coach.
However, Russell Wilson looks like a rookie.
He looks real bad.
Real bad, and he's got to own that.
I mean, he threw 3 interceptions and got benched.
Well, as well he should. But you're not going to walk away from a guy you just paid $250 million. So the next coach, if I'm Denver's new ownership, I'm going to try to get a Sean Payton.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you in this situation is who is next? Because the ownership's saying Russell Wilson can still be saved. Number one, if your ownership is saying you can still be saved,
and you're a Super Bowl winning
quarterback,
Hall of Fame quarterback,
that's pretty pathetic. Like that's really, really bad. But who is going to come to the rescue in Denver? Who is going to save Russell Wilson? Because this defense is the second best defense in the league, only behind the Jets.
Hey, look, they were my pick to go to the Super Bowl.
They were. You were very wrong.
I was very wrong, but I never thought for a second that Russell Wilson would play as badly as he did. I think you have to go out and try to get a Sean Payton type. If he's willing to come, you open up the checkbook. He's proved what he can do. I mean, don't forget, Drew Brees was almost on his way out of the league until he landed in New Orleans.
It's true. Sean Payton would be a solid choice. The issue with Russell Wilson, I think, more than anything, though, is now he's all of a sudden trying to be a pocket passer, and he's just too short to do that.
He can't be. I mean, what he had with Pete Carroll was a system that played to his strengths.
Roll him out,
make your passes, and make short passes. You don't have to go down the field all the time. Controlled.
You don't. And the issue is he's not a leader on that team. And when your quarterback's not a leader on your team, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. Even Jameis Winston with the clown stuff I've seen him do, nobody looked at Jameis Winston and said he's not our leader. He was a leader of that offense. There's no question about it.
Russell Wilson seems to have gone a little Hollywood.
Do you think?
I mean, he's believing.
He showed up and everybody thought it was so cute, and you were a big fan of him showing up in full uniform to training camp. I said it was dumb, and apparently his teammates agreed.
Yeah, his teammates were like, what the hell are you doing?
What's with Hollywood over here?
Yeah.
We're here to play football.
Show up. And he's been in the league long enough. Walk the walk. Act like you've been there before because you have.
But he has, and that's the issue, is he thought he could come in, earn the respect immediately because of his accomplishments before. But listen, dude didn't even have the respect of his teammates in Seattle, we're finding out.
Correct. And that's the big problem. Because if you're the quarterback, I mean, let's look at it. He supposedly is the tier of Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson was right up
It
there.
was.
Rodgers and Brady own that clubhouse and own the sideline.
They do.
In different ways.
Different ways.
Wilson doesn't have control of anything. People are just ignoring him.
He's trying to give people high fives as they're walking out on the field, and they're just walking past him.
Right.
And I don't know if a coach can come in and fix that. I really don't. I've heard a couple of coaches out there. I have heard Sean Payton. If I'm Sean Payton, I stay away from that situation as far as I possibly can. I've heard Dan Quinn, which makes sense in that situation because he is defense, and he's a no bullshit kind of coach.
Correct. What this is going to take is you're going to have to go to some of the other leaders on Denver and have them help rally around Wilson. It's not going to be Wilson being the leader. It's somebody else is going to say, okay, this is our quarterback. Let's get behind him.
His captaincy at this point because he was named captain right away.
Which
his teammates didn't vote him that. He was given that by Hackett. I think that's a big problem. And I think that's where Hackett really failed. I think he'll be a good coach.
He's good offensive
in another situation. I think he learned a lot in this situation. I mean, how many head coaches have we seen get fired and get a second shot and actually do better? It's happened quite a bit.
This one's going to be tough to come back from, though, because he never had the team.
People blame Wilson because he had a lot of pressure from an organization that was brand new to buying that team and that did not hire him and that told him, Wilson is your quarterback. No matter what, this is your quarterback. Figure it out. That's a lot of pressure for people that don't necessarily want you there, that are the richest owners now in the NFL, with a quarterback that just you realize isn't as good, and you just got to deal. That's a hard situation to be in, and you can't fully blame him for that. That's an unfair situation for any single coach.
It was an unfair situation for a rookie head coach to come into.
Definitely a rookie head coach.
I mean,
he was given no leash.
He was no leash, and he was given no. It looks like he was given no power to really be a disciplinarian on the team because he should have sat Russell Wilson and said, "Look, we're doing this my way. You're sitting down."
Well, the issue is too, you have a lot of players on that defense that are still there from when Kubiak was the head coach. Not a lot, but a few veterans that are leaders on that team, and Kubiak sitting right behind him, calling the offensive plays, not the head coach. Okay, this is a former head coach of this exact team. You're not winning. Why do we not have Kubiak as our head coach, who's won a Super Bowl for us?
Well, and there's the question: do you bump Kubiak back up and just go over there? You've got to find a way. You've got to find somebody that's going to have the respect of the players from the day he steps in, and I don't know who that's going to be.
Dan Quinn makes sense. I could see Frank Reich coming in as an offensive coordinator. I think that would be a smart
coordinator, not head coach.
Not head coach, but as an offensive coordinator. Especially if you hire Dan Quinn as the head coach, I think those two can make a really good tandem for a really good team. It's just a matter if Dan Quinn wants to go there. He seems pretty happy in Dallas, being a defensive
with good reason. I mean, he's got a great situation there.
Yeah, but that defense is about to need to get paid.
Sure.
And you're not going to be able to pay everybody. So if there's a time to bounce, now's the time to bounce.
If you get a head coaching job and that's really your goal in life, you would take Denver.
Yeah.
Because they do have a defense that's set up to win.
They do.
And
for the foreseeable future.
I thought that was how Denver was going to win. I thought Wilson would score enough points to get them over the hump, and then their defense would just shut people down.
Well, here's the thing. Their receivers are not slouches. No. It's not like you're dealing with the receivers that Green Bay's dealing with, where it's a bunch of rookies trying to figure it out. Like, these are solid receivers that had been performing, and now they're not. And it's all Wilson's fault. It's all your Badger over here. It's his fault. He may be from a whole bunch of Badgers, but he's looking like a whole bunch of Badgers right now.
No, he's looking like
terrible. He's looking like this year.
He's looking like a bunch of hamsters. He's not looking like a Badgers because Badgers are tough and they fight, and they're
except for this year.
Yeah, this year is a bad year, but it's turning around. We got the right coach in place. Leave it alone.
You're welcome for the Ohio State coach.
We'll get to this later, but that is my one big fear, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But if I'm Denver, I open up the checkbook. I try to get paid.
Yeah, it's a smart move. He's a proven winner. But again, if I'm Sean Payton, I don't touch that team with the 10-foot pole. I just don't. I mean, I treat that team like the Grinch from the Grinch song. What's the lyric? I don't even remember. We're past Christmas. Great.
Yeah, come on.
But I would, although squirrel moment for a second. I taught my son something this year that they didn't know, and that I don't think a lot of people know, honestly, that the 12 days of Christmas is happening right now.
Yes, 12 Days of Christmas is from
December
Christmas Day
25th.
through Epiphany.
Correct.
January 7th.
Right.
I believe.
It is 7th.
Okay.
When the wise men showed up.
Correct.
The wise men showed up 12 days later because the star didn't show up until Christmas Day. And then the wise men followed it and went past King Herod, and then King Herod got really mad. We read the whole story. It was interesting.
I'm going to reel you back in to
But
close
no,
out on
it's
Denver.
it's interesting, though, how many people think the 12 days of Christmas is before Christmas. When in reality, the 12 days of Christmas, day one, the partridge in the pear tree, is on Christmas Day.
Yes. And you do know that 12 Days of Christmas song is based completely out of the Bible.
No.
Yes. I read it.
All I know about it is my favorite version is the Muppet one when they talk about the drummers drumming and Animal comes out going, drums!
Can we get back to Denver?
Yeah, back to Denver.
That was
which is a good transition, honestly, because that version of 12 Days of Christmas was with John Denver. So now let's get back to the Denver Broncos. I'm getting good at this game.
There's some people that are going to disagree with you. Okay, so
hey, before you do that, if you disagree, let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
I apologize for him. I really do.
Denver.
Who do you think they're going to hire?
I think Dan Quinn's going there, and I really think Frank Reich is going to be the offensive coordinator of that team. If I'm the ownership group and I'm the GM, that's where I'm looking, because you want the defense to be excited about the next head coach that's coming in.
And Quinn would do that.
You want a coach that has head coaching experience. And Dan Quinn, don't forget, took the Falcons to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
He learned a lot from that experience, I'm sure, because that was a really bad comeback.
It was.
But he was no nonsense in Atlanta. He comes into Dallas, proved that he's willing to change his philosophy with the defense that he has. If I'm a defensive player, that gets me really excited to be in that drawing room with him. And then you have Frank Reich, who has proven time and time again. Look what he did with Carson Wentz, who now is nothing.
Utterly.
Look what he did with Nick Foles.
True.
I mean, he has done a lot of good.
He's a
lot of players.
He's the kind of coach that I think can put his arm around Wilson and say, look, we've got to do things differently. We're going back to what works with you.
Right.
And remind him that he's 5'2".
Right. Well, and again, a strong-willed leader. That's what Pete Carroll was.
But he didn't like Pete Carroll because it was like dad telling him what to do all the time.
Well, if you wake up call, Russell.
He has had one this year.
Like, you're not all that in a bag of chips. All right. You just proved that you need a good system to be good in.
Very
and without that system, let Russ cook doesn't work because you're 5'10" and you can't stand in the pocket and just make throws. I'm sorry, your offensive linemen are 5 inches taller than you. You have to roll out.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing's wrong with that.
It gives him a ton of options because he's good at rolling out and making those little passes. I've been calling for Aaron Rodgers to do more than that. He did it last.
He's starting to.
He's starting to again.
Yeah.
Because I think he's finally healthy.
Right.
So getting away from there, let's talk about the Packers for a minute.
Okay.
They won. Everybody they needed to lose lost.
Proves once again God is a Packers fan.
He's playing against Minnesota in Green Bay.
Got a win coming.
Not going to be that cold, I don't think. Once the weather's going to change, it'll be a 20s, 30s kind of day.
Probably.
So it's not going to be as big an advantage, even though the Vikings play indoor. Do the Packers win this game?
Yeah. Big. Going away. Kirk Cousins is going to be Kirk Cousins on prime.
Yeah. How did that work out for him in game one?
Wasn't prime.
We're going to have somebody covering.
Wasn't a primetime game.
I
mean, that's the trick, though.
I honestly think the season ends this weekend.
You shut your dirty mouth.
I'm just saying. Green Bay.
It could. It very well could. I mean, if they continue to play zone and they play zone like they did in week one, yeah, it's going to be a problem. I mean, the reason the Packers beat Miami is because it turns out Tua had a concussion that whole second half.
Well, Tua should
you
be
can tell
shut
by
down.
Those throws.
Tua should be shut down for
He
the
should have
year.
been shut down after the first
Correct.
concussion. Like, I mean, and it those throws now make sense because Tua doesn't make those type of throws. For him to miss an open Tyreek Hill like that and just be in the arms of Alexander, I mean, that was clearly him having a concussion.
Tua should not play another snap this year. And if I'm Tua, I have to look at this and go, is my career over?
It's getting close. I mean, you definitely don't have an organization that has your best interest at heart.
No, not at all. I mean, this is an indictment of not only Miami's head coach, but also the organization, because they have not done once, have they done Tua the service he deserves.
They have not. It's been really, really bad. Like, I've never seen anything worse when it comes to concussion protocol than what the Miami Dolphins are doing. Let's be honest. Back in the 70s, they didn't treat their quarterbacks this way. And now there's concussion protocols in place, and Tua is just being told to go back out there 4 days later.
He should have been shut down during the game on Sunday.
Right. Even if you get your bell rung, they would sit you out for a while. Like, let's make sure you're seeing one person.
Well, it reminds me of that commercial, What's Your Name? I'm Batman.
Right.
Go back out. And that's got to be what Tua was like. And honestly, the only time I've seen an organization do more damage to a player was RG3 that we talked about earlier. Because
RG3 and Andrew Luck.
True, but RG3 more. They rushed him back. He hurt his knee. He was never the same guy.
He was not.
Tua, I'm worried about his long-term health at this point.
That's 3 concussions in 1 year. When's the last time you heard of a player having 3 concussions in 1 year? Luke Kuechly had to walk away for that very reason. There's been plenty of players that have had to walk away because of concussions.
It's not just that Tua's bell was rung.
No.
And for those who don't know, because I've had concussions in my life, that means your brain is sloshed against your skull. So it's not a minor little thing to be laughed at, which we used to do. Oh, it's a concussion. I'm fine. I'll go back out. There's no big deal.
I played that way still as a kid.
Mm-hmm. But now it's changed, thankfully.
But at the same time, if I'm stumbling.
Well, Tua fell down on coming off the field, and they let him go back in.
Right. Like, that's ridiculous. And unfortunately, I thought his star was going to burn bright, but unfortunately, it burned very bright and is going to go out way too soon.
So, getting back to the Packers-Vikings.
Packers are going to win.
How can you say that?
Packers are going to be the Vikings. They're going to be the Lions. The Commanders are going to lose this week.
Or the Giants.
Well, the Commanders have to lose.
I thought either them or the
Giants have to lose twice.
Okay.
The Lions and I don't think the Lions. Yeah, the Lions and Packers, I think, can both get in.
Yeah, well, let's get back to reality world. I mean, let's really get back.
But in reality world, the Packers are going to get in the playoffs.
What's scary to me, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, but if Green Bay gets into the playoffs, they're a dangerous team at this point.
They are. They're getting hot at the right time. They are so dangerous that I guarantee if they make it in the playoffs, they will make it to the NFC Championship and lose to the 49ers once again.
If they get to
because that's what we do.
Yeah, well, it depends on who the quarterback is. If it's Jimmy G, yeah, I'd say that.
Future Hall of Famer.
But Green Bay has been in the playoffs for the last, 6 weeks? Every game's been a playoff game for them.
Every single game. Well, that's the hard part if you're a team that look at the Eagles right now. They've really had nothing to play for. I mean, they're resting Jalen Hurts now, which is smart. Gardner Minshew, as fun as he is to look at, he's not your starting quarterback that you want in this position.
No.
You want Hurts back in a hurry. The Vikings are still playing for something because they're still playing for the number 1 seed.
Which would get them the only bye.
The only bye. But I don't see the Packers losing this game. This is not the same team that they were in week 1.
Dylan's going to have a huge game. Aaron Jones is going to have to play. I mean, it's now time. He sat out most of the game last week for whatever reason.
You had A.J. Dillon on a roll. You obviously saw something with a weak defensive line, and they took advantage of it.
Now, I haven't seen the news. I'm assuming Watson's going to be back.
Yeah.
How about the kickoff return guy?
Nixon should be back too.
All right. Because that was amazing.
None of them have been ruled out.
I was so disappointed, though.
When's the last time the Packers or any team has had a kickoff return for a touchdown?
It's been a while, and he brought it back 93 yards, and something in my gut knew that they weren't going to score a touchdown then. That's a big problem. Their red zone offense is atrocious.
It's really bad. You don't have that red zone target.
Well, they do, but they're not using him. They have Mercedes Lewis, and I still want to see the Packers just send him down the middle and have him turn around. He's bigger than anybody else.
He's huge.
Just go to the end zone, turn around. I'll throw the ball 1,000 miles an hour. You're going to catch it.
It's the old Favre Bubba Franks play.
Exactly. And Mercedes Lewis is a throwback guy. He's 114 years old, and he's still playing at a high level.
What bothers me is that Mercedes Lewis is still the only first-round pick that Aaron Rodgers has thrown a touchdown to.
Oh, wait a minute. First round draft pick? Oh, that's true, because Watson was the second round.
Watson was the second round, and Sammy Watkins never caught a touchdown.
Because Sammy Watkins was a bad signing.
Bad choice. Bad choice. You know what about a really good signing? Devontae Adams. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, and I still think Goody has ran his course and should be gone.
Of course.
I would like
Let's focus on right now, though.
I want Green Bay to bring in Sean Payton myself.
Let's focus on the right now.
All right, fine.
Because right now, the Packers are Super Bowl champions.
God, don't say that, because that means they're going to bring Joe Barry back.
No.
If
I'll take it. If we win a Super Bowl, I'll take one more year with Joe Barry. Are you kidding me?
No.
Do what the Rams did. Sell out your future for a Super Bowl. I'm in.
This is the youngest team Green Bay's had. The wide receivers.
Since our last Super Bowl.
Okay. But their wide receivers, I mean, Watson and Dobbs are going to be a formidable combination for whoever, whether it's Rodgers. I mean, if it's Mark Schlereth is right, Rodgers is gone at the end of this year. They've seen what they want to see. They're moving forward with Love. I don't think that's happening.
I said that was going to happen.
$60 million contract.
$60 million cap hit.
Well,
$50 million contract. $60 million cap hit.
Something's going to have to be rearranged wherever he is.
We got to sign a bunch of players still in Green Bay.
Correct. You got to sign Aaron Jones.
You have to be able to survive another year, and it's going to have to either be renegotiated for him to stay in Green Bay, or that's it. That's a big reason I'm hoping the Packers go on and win a Super Bowl, because then Rodgers can ride off in the sunset.
Okay.
And we can move on with Jordan Love. It's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful ending.
Green Bay is not a say they get through a very weak NFC.
Yeah.
They're going to have to play Kansas City or Buffalo again or Cincinnati.
Yep.
And they are going to get destroyed.
You know what's amazing about the Super Bowl?
What?
One game.
True.
As the little Giants taught us, you can lose 99 times.
But you win the one.
But you can win the one, and that's all you need to win. The little Giants did it.
They did.
The Packers can do it too. Now, do I think that they're going to... It's going to be a tough game, even if they get into the playoffs. I mean, they're going to have to face the Vikings again in Minnesota week 1 of the playoffs.
With the Vikings or Philadelphia. Well,
let's assume Philadelphia gets the bye.
So then
for the Packers to get in the playoffs, they're going to have to beat the Vikings, which essentially gives Philadelphia the bye.
Correct. And then they go back to play.
They're either going to play San Francisco,
okay,
or they're going to play Minnesota.
The only good news I'm happy about is that it's going to be on the road.
Yes.
I don't want them playing in Green Bay with Rodgers right now.
No.
He loses. Lambeau Field used to be a pit and a certain death.
I mean, San Francisco's still a really good team. They're definitely being overlooked by a lot of people. They're a really good team. The Vikings are going to do what the Vikings do, which is lose in the playoffs.
I think so.
At some point, they will lose in the playoffs. They're starting to descend in a big, big way.
They're a quarterback away again.
They are. I mentioned that to you. You want to talk about a surprise landing spot for Aaron Rodgers that is a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl team. It is the Minnesota Vikings.
I'm not going to argue with you.
It's the same situation you had when Favre was there. Can you imagine Rodgers with Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Cook?
And a rejuvenated Aaron Rodgers, they'd be prohibitive favorites going in.
I mean, I'd hate it just like I hated when Favre did it. I'd still cheer for him to win, though.
Rodgers has to prove that he can get over the top, though. He's made some bad decisions and plays in the playoffs.
The last few years have been coaching decisions. Like, has he made bad plays in the game? Yes, he has. But when it comes down to 2-minute drills, Rodgers didn't normally lose those 2-minute drills if you got him the ball in the last 2 minutes.
How many 3-and-outs have we seen in the last
I'm
3,
not
4
denying
years? It's been ugly. I don't know what's going on.
How much of that is coaching?
Well, I've said it before. I think LaFleur has ran his course and should be fired.
We're getting to that point. I mean, if it's Super Bowl or bust this time.
Well, you're not. I don't think you're okay. Say the Green Bay gets knocked out this weekend. I don't want them to, but if they do, and you have a chance to go out and get a Sean Payton, LaFleur should be fired immediately.
Yeah, I agree.
And Rodgers, I think, would respond to Sean Payton or somebody like that.
If Rodgers stays. Now, I think Rodgers has plenty of reason to stay.
Yeah, at least $60 million.
But again, you have Jordan Love sitting there. And the question is what are you going to do with him? But that's a question for next season. We still have this season where the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl.
I will buy you. I will get you a round of golf at Whistling Straits next year. Even though I can't play, I will take you to Whistling Straits.
You heard it. Come on, Packers. Whistling Straits is on the line. I'm in.
Okay.
I'm 100% in.
I would love to pay off that bet.
Yes. I have a feeling it won't get paid off. But we can pretend, even if the Packers make it to the Super Bowl and win it all.
All right. We're going to change gears here because we've been talking a lot about...
Before we change.
Do it.
Let us know what you think in the comments below. Are the Packers going to win the Super Bowl?
Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl?
Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to do this right here, which is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. All right, switch up those gears.
Switching gears. We're going to go back to college football because the college football playoffs start this weekend. Two great games. Michigan versus TCU. Whatever that team is versus
Ohio
Georgia.
State and Georgia, which I think will be a better game than people are giving it credit for. I also think the Michigan TCU game is going to be better than people give it credit for.
I think Michigan wins going away in the second half.
They're a second half team. I mean, what have I always said about Michigan all year round? If you are in the game, if Michigan's in the game in the first half, you're going to get destroyed in the second half. You have to be at least 2, maybe even 3 scores up on Michigan in the first half to stand a chance.
And I don't see that happening. Speaking of coaches that if they win a national championship, I think Harbaugh is in the NFL next year.
He might be. I think he really likes coaching college.
I do too.
I mean, if he wins a national championship for Michigan this year, you'll see a statue outside the stadium next year.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I think Ohio State can beat Georgia as well, but they've got to put two halves together, which they haven't done recently.
In the last game.
In the last game. Well, even before that, I mean, Ohio State gets off to a really fast start, and they can coast the rest of the way, and a lot of that is a Big Ten.
It's explosive offense.
But
it's just a matter of their first real big competition was against Michigan.
And they failed miserably.
And they failed in the second half. But Michigan's a second half team.
So what do they have to do against Georgia? Georgia is a really, really talented team.
They have to slow down that offense, which I think they can. And then they have to keep scoring. They cannot let Georgia shut them down. That's your competition, is a Georgia defense that is stacked versus an Ohio State offense that may have the worst wide receiver core that they've had in the past 10 years. They're great. Don't get me wrong. Every other program in the country would want their wide receivers. But from Ohio State standards, it is not up to the par and level that Ohio State is used to. Now, both their running backs are going to be back for this game, which is huge because they haven't played together in a long time. You do get some of your wide receivers coming back, which is also huge because you haven't had a full wide receiver core all season. And that's where Ohio State lost against Michigan, is because they were down 2 big playmakers on offense, which you are now getting back against Georgia.
Look, my hope is that it's an Ohio State-Michigan final game just for the stories that are amazing. It would be amazing. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I think it's Michigan-Georgia at this point. I think it's going to.
That's what everybody's calling for. Don't write off TCU. TCU earned being number 3.
They did. I don't think they have enough guns to hold up against Michigan.
Michigan's a stacked team.
They are.
They're a stacked team. But Boise State beat Oklahoma, right?
Oklahoma had nothing to play for. They didn't want to be there. But let's talk about college football as in general though, because we've talked about the NIL a lot on the show in previous episodes. Something's got to happen because now the schools are really the Alabamas, Ohio States, even the Wisconsins are going to be doing it.
My biggest fear.
It's a recruiting tool, and it shouldn't be.
That was my biggest fear with the NIL. And it is that you can't allow this to be a recruiting tool. And the fact that the NCAA did nothing, knowing it was coming, knowing that this was going to get passed in California and you were just going to have to deal with it at some point then, you did nothing to prevent it being a recruiting tool. And that's what I hate. I love the NIL. And I've told you before, I love the NIL for swimmers especially. Because now Olympic swimmers, I always think of Missy Franklin,
Sure.
right? She was 15, won a bunch of gold medals, couldn't cash in on her success because she had a full ride offer to Stanford and then got hurt in college and was never the same swimmer again.
That's very true.
She never got to cash in, and that sucks. I look at Katie Ledecky. She's older now, but she had to make a decision in her first couple of Olympics. It's why you didn't see Michael Phelps go to college, right?
Correct.
He trains at Ann Arbor, but he wanted to cash in, and I don't blame him. Now those choices don't have to be made, and I love it for that. I love the idea that the CJ Strouds of the world, the Reggie Bush from back in the day in the world, just the top tier guys can now get paid. I don't think the school should be helping with that, though. And I especially don't think it's why they changed the NFL contracts for rookies. Because look at Matthew Stafford, look at Sam Bradford getting paid $70 million guaranteed for not playing it down in the NFL.
Sure. The difference is, and I disagree with you, I think the colleges are going to have to get involved to make sure the offensive linemen and the punters, they all get some kind of a deal. But I think what this really boils down to, and you said it, the NCAA has failed. I think before very long, within the next 5 to 10 years, football is going to break away from the NCAA, and then they can write the book. They can write the book with their own rules.
Because look at what's happened with the transfer portal. I love the transfer portal, but I think it should be reserved for if a coach leaves. Like that's always been my opinion, that if a coach gets fired or a coach leaves to a different school, you have a right to transfer and go wherever you want and play right away.
Well, what if a kid gets to a school and it's just not what he expected it to be?
Then you transfer and you sit out a year like you do right now. But I don't like the fact that kids are now being talked to behind closed doors about NIL deals that they can go to. And so they hit a transfer portal. There's one kid, I forget who it was, but there's one kid out there who's literally been in a transfer portal 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 times now.
Yes. And it's ridiculous. And Minnesota's PJ Fleck came out and accused Wisconsin of tampering.
It's not tampering.
It's not tampering. I love what Joe Thomas said. He came out and said, yeah, I was being recruited by Minnesota even after I signed my letter of intent to Wisconsin to try to get me to change. But NIL is here to stay. Do I want to see Alabama and Ohio State and USC really just try to buy their talent? No.
But that's what's happening. I mean, you have people in colleges now that are getting paid $1 million a year just to run the NIL.
Sure, because it's big business.
I don't like it. Now, if Wisconsin's offensive lineman, right, all of a sudden a car dealership comes in and says, we want the Wisconsin offensive lineman to go and do a commercial. I have no issues with that. Johnny Football getting paid for autographs, right? I have no issues with that. I do have an issue with you talking to high school kids,
eighth graders,
and talking about getting them paid millions of dollars when they haven't done anything yet. This is saved for the top tier of talent. This is to keep kids in school longer instead of chasing a payday, because now they have a choice to either stay in school or not. It's not meant for you to use as a recruiting tool, and I hate that it is.
And the problem is we're talking about kids from anywhere from 14 to 18 years old. They're not mature enough. If they get that kind of money, are they still going to be driven to perform on the field? Most of them, I think, will, but some won't.
I think a good amount won't. I think there's a ton. Look what happens in the NFL. All of a sudden, people get paid,
right,
and now they don't perform anymore. That was a driving force. You play in college hard to get to the NFL. Now, for NFL scouts, I'm happy, right? Because these guys are getting money now, so now I get to see how they react to having money, and if they're the same performance that they are.
Look, it's much better than what it was though before, when a kid would take a donut from a car dealership that he happened to be at for an appearance.
The famous Wisconsin basketball where they got a 25% discount off of shoes.
Yes,
and it was a huge fine and almost loss of scholarships for some of these student athletes.
Which was ridiculous. It was, I can't remember the name of the shoe store over in Black Earth.
It was 25% off shoes.
Yeah, what's the big deal? But it was an NCAA violation, and NCAA love to find those little ticky-tacky violations.
And you've taken those away, and I do like that part of it. I just hate that it's a recruiting tool. I really do. I can't stand that it's a recruiting tool, because what this is, it's my problem with college, honestly, as a whole nowadays. I went through it. You went through it. College is extra education, right? College is about learning. You go to college to get a degree, to learn something new. And what you're showing right now is that college is a business, especially when it comes to sports. We don't care if these kids get a degree. We don't care if they do this. Growing up for me, sports was a way to get into college to better your life. Now you're getting paid to go to these schools to play a sport. You're a professional at this point. Why are you even in school?
Well, because you're using the old NCAA argument that, in fact, they are getting paid because they're getting their tuition.
I don't agree with that.
Enough.
I don't agree with that. I think the NIL is great. I don't like that you're incentivizing kids to go to your school to get paid.
Okay. What's your solution?
Stop it being a recruiting tool. You get paid once you're an established athlete in college. You shouldn't be getting paid to go to a school. Look at Clinton Ewers, who went to Ohio State for $1.3 million and immediately regretted that decision and transferred back to Texas. These kids, like you said, are not mature enough to make these decisions. And when you put that much money on the table, these kids can't say no, and they're making the wrong decisions. Go to the college of your dreams, earn a starting spot there, and then get paid for performing.
Well, what have we always talked about? This is just as bad as the lobbyists in Washington who are going out, and I blame the boosters because they're the ones providing a lot of this money. They've got the money. They're going to spend it to try to get the kids to come in, and they will use the kids until they can burn them up or until they go to the NFL.
Right.
I don't like that. I would much rather see them go to school. You pick your school, and only after your freshman year do you get to talk about NIL.
I agree. That's what I've been saying from the word go. NIL should not exist for kids that are coming in. If you perform your freshman year, go get paid. I have no issues with that. Sign with Gatorade, sign with Pepsi, sign with local, whoever. But I hate that it is now a recruiting tool where the Lincoln Rileys of the world are going into people's living rooms and saying, "Listen, I can get you paid."
And Nick Saban.
And Nick Saban and Luke Fickell and Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh. They're all doing it, right?
Right.
But that didn't used to be it. It used to be the coach selling themselves. This is what I can do for you to get you to that next level. This is what I can do to make you better. This is what the university of whatever can do to make you better. And this is how we're going to take care of your son.
Correct.
Now it's the conversation of, I can pay you this. Now the other coaches are walking in. Lincoln Riley just offered us $1.3 million, Ryan Day. What are you going to offer us for us to go to Ohio State?
And yet Reggie Bush doesn't have his Heisman Trophy.
Don't even get me started. Especially, by the way, when Johnny Manziel got busted for selling his autograph and his Heisman didn't get taken away, but because Reggie Bush is a good person and gave his Heisman back, now he doesn't get it back from you. Get out of here. We had that discussion. The Reggie Bush thing bothers me beyond belief.
Because he really did what he do technically was wrong, sure.
By random standards.
Well, by NCAA BS standards.
He did nothing wrong except perform on the field. That's what he did.
And he gave the NCAA a huge payday with the greatest NCAA final game we've ever seen.
Well, and let's be honest. Nobody's been like Reggie Bush before. Nobody's been like Reggie Bush since. Nobody's been that electrifying in the NCAA. That player has still yet to exist again in college. You made a lot of money off of Reggie Bush. You were selling his jersey with the name on the back, and you have the balls to take away his Heisman when you were all getting paid by giving him the Heisman. Anyway, I'm moving on from this because I could talk about this for hours. The NIL shouldn't be a recruiting tool. That's where the NCAA failed.
Okay.
I hate that it's a recruiting tool.
So you're saying you don't think it should be a recruiting?
I don't. These are important decisions, and being older, you start to learn that, right? You really do. You start to learn.
The older you get, the smarter I get, as I've told you for years.
Sometimes. I've had to
Always.
correct you on a few things, like whining about random, gas prices and other things in the world.
Don't get me started, because gas jumped 20 cents a gallon in one day.
After Christmas, which is illegal, by the way. It shouldn't be able to jump more than 10 cents in one day.
Anyways.
So they changed it at, 11.
Yeah.
Changed it again at 1.
Exactly.
Brilliant move. But it just bugs me because you're looking at kids now. This was meant, to me, it was meant for the swimmers that go to the Olympics. It was meant for these Olympic athletes who give up their childhood to perform and only have a short window. I mean, they go every 4 years. Missy Franklin, again, I'm using her as an example, but it's the one that always comes to my mind. She did great at 15 years old, one of the best swimmers in the world, and then got hurt and was never the same swimmer again. Now, did she get a great college education out of it at Stanford? Of course she did. But she should have been able to cash in as well. These gymnasts, look at what's her name before the other one? Why am I forgetting the gymnast?
What's her name before the other one?
Gabby something.
Gabby. All I wanted to say was Gabby Hayes, but he's an old Western.
Yeah, not Gabby Hayes.
Not Gabby Hayes.
And then I need to hold on. I'm out.
We'll put it in the comments.
No, I'm just looking it up right now.
Oh my God. But you're right. And that's why I said the NCAA's time has come. It's got to go away. Power 5 football conferences, because let's face it, football is what funds all the universities. And they should break off. You can leave basketball and the other sports with the NCAA. I don't agree with it, but the Power 5 conferences for football are going to break off.
I can't find it. But anyway, Simone Biles is one of them. You shouldn't have to choose between cashing out and going to college. That just shouldn't be a choice. I mean, Simone Biles obviously cashed out, and good for her.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the best female gymnast that probably ever existed.
Look, the Olympics is no longer, it used to be about amateur sports.
It did. You get 25,000.
We had the Miracle on Ice because of that. Because the Russians were playing pros and we played college.
Even though technically those were all ex-college players, by the way.
Whatever. But now it's just, and it started with the Dream Team. Yes, we've got the best athletes and we proved it. I want the Olympics to go back to being an amateur competition. I think it's more exciting. It's the genie's out of the bottle on that. It's never going to happen.
I have no issues with it being what it is because, yes, you're going to have basketball players, right? Number one, being from the U.S. and being a happy American citizen.
I know.
I love seeing America win. We all count it, but that's not true for most other sports. It's really not. That's true for basketball, and it's true for hockey.
It's not true for hockey. We very rarely win the gold.
But professionals are playing hockey as well. For any other sport, this is their professional chance. This is what they do. And I just don't think kids should have to choose between making a lot of money from being on Wheaties boxes and going to school. It's different. Those kids have performed. Those people in the Olympics, they have performed at the highest level. They have earned the right to get a paycheck. If you are an 18-year-old kid and you're playing high school football, you have done nothing at the highest level to earn that amount of money. And I know I sound like an old curmudgeon for these kids. No, get your money and run. I mean, take advantage of the rules. I just think it's wrong because I think it's going to make kids make the wrong decisions. I think it puts them in situations that can end up hurting them in the long run. Well, I think it also puts them in situations to get taken advantage of.
I was going to say, there are wolves that are just bad actors hovering around that are perfectly willing to use them to get their own paycheck.
Right.
And that's bad.
And then they're left out in the cold. It's very much like a child actor situation. It really is. You just get taken advantage of. And these kids are going to get taken advantage of. They are being taken advantage. Look at Clinton Ewers, who had to re-change his decision. He was never going to start at Ohio State.
No.
He was never going to start unless he sat there for years. And he was ready to start right away. He wanted to go to Texas, but Ohio State came in and offered him $1.3 million.
Which that would take too.
Which he ran for. And then realized the mistake that he made and went back to Texas where he should have been to begin with.
Which is why the schools, though, should run the NILs to keep the agents away. But again,
and a lot of them do.
I agree with you. If you're a freshman, NIL doesn't exist until you're a sophomore at least.
Freshmen didn't used to play on the actual college team. They used to have freshman teams.
Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he only played 3 years.
Right. And I'm going before I was born, obviously.
Yeah, it was.
But that used to be, in the transition from that now to all of a sudden freshmen in high school are getting paid. Again, there's a reason the NFL changed the rules to not bankrupt teams that you didn't know if they were going to be good or not in the NFL draft. I mean, look at the Lions from back in the early 2000s. That team should have been a lot better, but the problem is you had 3 first-round draft picks that were getting paid a ton in Ndamukong Suh, in Calvin Johnson, and in Matthew Stafford. Those 3 players for the Lions accounted for more than half of their cap.
Well, and you and I have talked about it. In the NFL, we're getting a little way, following one of our famous squirrel trails.
I know, but I'm just using it as an example to why they changed those rules.
The NFL, I still think, should do what professional soccer does, and you have your star player as a set-off.
Yes, I agree.
There's 2 caps. So like Aaron Rodgers and other starting quarterbacks or running backs, you're the one guy we're not going to be charging.
One person.
One person that's not going to be hit against.
The owners will never agree to that.
I know, but it makes sense, and it should.
I definitely agree to that. But the reason I use that as an example for the NIL, and here's the issue too, there is no cap on this.
No.
I hate the people that come out and say, oh, this is going to even it up for the smaller schools. No, it's not.
No.
Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, UCLA, they have a lot more money than Boise State.
Correct.
It's not going to even the playing field. It's the same thing it was before. In fact, you had a chance of getting a 4-star recruit if you're Boise State more before this than you do now.
Yes, because now the Alabamas, the Ohio States of the world, this is making the rich richer.
Right. And people are talking about Jackson State. Well, look at the recruits they got. They got them because of Deion Sanders, okay? His son came to play. His son was friends with all these guys. They said, listen, you can make some money coming to Jackson State and play for my dad. Let's all play together. This will be fun. And guess what? Deion Sanders took those players with him.
Correct.
And they brought Louis, by the way. Don't forget, no position is safe. Still one of my all-time favorite speeches, by the way.
I still stand by what I said. I would let my kid play there in a minute.
2 seconds flat. Are you kidding me? Random thing. I was listening to Deion Sanders and Shannon Sharp do an interview together, and he was talking about his son, where his other son was quarterback as well. And he said, your quarterback days are done. It's run its course. You're going to play corner. I'm going to teach you how. And he wasn't happy about it. And he's like, I'm going to teach you how to play corner. And he got burned in a drill. And because from what Deion says, his eyes were closed and he was sitting back. He's like, your stuff doesn't work. And he goes, my stuff doesn't work? He said, I went inside and went to bed. I was like, that's the head coach I want my kids playing for, right there. Exactly. My stuff doesn't work. I'm a Hall of Fame corner. My stuff works.
Exactly. And those are the kind, they've done a good job as being parents because they would realize it was an act. But these kids that are coming into college, Deion Sanders was a one-off. He developed prime time when he was in college.
He did.
But he always knew the difference.
But listen, if my kids become athletes, and there's no sign that they will, right? But if they did, because let's be honest, both my sons have the legs of monsters.
Yeah, I mean, they're big boys.
They're big boys. They can run me over. I never had legs that big. They get that from you, so thank you very much. But if my sons became athletes, I'm in a situation lucky enough where that decision doesn't have to be made, right? You go to the school you want to, especially if it's on scholarship. We're going to talk to the coaches and we're going to make that decision together as a family. Money's not important in this conversation. We're not talking about this. I'm very fortunate in that situation where that's not a conversation that needs to be had. Other families and other people are not. And let's be honest, a lot of these athletes, it's not you, it's we made it, right? I've heard that from several NFL athletes talk about that. And the pressure is on these kids. You are the athlete that's going to be there to go and make money.
You're supporting our family.
You're supporting our family, and here's $1.3 million. That's a hard decision to make, and I hate the fact that these kids are put in these situations early. And what I liked about the NIL was now you took those kids, right, that are going to leave college early to go to the NFL to take care of their families. You don't have to make that decision now. You can get paid while in college, support your families, and still get a degree if that's what you choose to do.
Well, this shows you anything, though. $1.3 million in today is not a lot of money.
It's not, but it is for an 18-year-old.
It's a huge amount for an 18-year-old, enough to spin your head. But that's where people have to look at it and go, wait a minute. In the grand scope of things,
right,
$1 million will be gone in 2 seconds flat.
Well, and there's two things that bother me now with this as well. One, in high school, there is not a required financial class.
That's always been a problem.
It's bugged me to the core. How can you take high school students, a lot of which are going to go into the real world now and not go to college? How are you not teaching them how to balance a checkbook?
Yeah, exactly.
I had to sign up for an extracurricular to do that, and I learned a lot, and I'm glad I did, because I still made a lot of financial mistakes that I've recovered from, which is good. But every 18-year-old does, right? First credit card is a dangerous thing for an 18-year-old, especially when they're not taught how to use it.
Tell me about it. I still remember your sister.
Yes, but it wasn't me. I just did it to my own credit cards. So you're welcome.
True. Very true. I'm still paying off other people's. Anyways,
I
love your
my own credit cards.
I made up for it. I love my daughter.
But it's every 18-year-old, right? And again, in college, okay, here's these kids in the NIL now. You're not forcing them to take a finance class to learn what to do with that money. There should be stipulation on this money, especially for freshmen, to say this is how you need to be safe with your money. The NFL finally does that, which is good. But if you're going to be paying these kids, you have to be doing the same thing to teach these people how to be responsible with their money, because a lot of these kids are not going to go on to the NFL.
Well, and I think what's going to happen is this first group of NIL players is going to have to come back, and they're going to have to talk to these kids and be a part of the recruiting process.
Look at that's what the NFL, NBA players, all these players do that are broke now. They come back and they're making their money teaching people how not to be broke, which is great.
Tough lessons to learn.
It's very tough lessons to learn. And unfortunately, when you look at the grand scheme of things from around the world, you and I, right? We make most of our money at the end of our lives, right? At the end of our careers. That's when most of our money is made. You're making more money now than you ever have. I'm making more money now than I ever have, and will continue to make more money until I retire.
Because this show is going to continue to grow. And if you'd like to sponsor us, please reach out. We will.
Exactly. Unfortunately, with professional athletes, the majority of your money that you make in your life is in the first 10 years of your adult life. From 20 to 30, that's when you're going to make, or 20, even less.
20 to 30.
Between your 20 and 35. That's when you're going to make all of the money. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids don't make it that far. They really don't. And so most of their money they're going to make in their entire lives, they've made between the ages of 22 and 27.
And how would you like to be one of those guys that signed a multi-million-dollar contract, and by the age of 40, it's all gone, and now you have to go and find a job?
Right. There's a lot out there that teaches these kids not to do that. There's a lot of life lessons out there, but 20-year-olds are stupid.
Yes.
20-year-olds don't listen to anybody.
I told you that.
I was stupid. I see it now. My kids are going to be stupid 20-year-olds. 20-year-olds are just dumb. And that's okay. They have no life experience. That's why they're dumb.
It is. But fortunately, you were smart enough. You caught on quick, and we discussed it, and you came back and reeled it in.
I had kids young.
You did.
I had my first son at 23. So I had to grow up pretty quick in that situation and learn, hey, I can't spend like I used to because I have a kid that I need to afford now. And I still made mistakes when I had him, but I learned very quickly. I pride that about myself, is I am a fast learner. I may learn hard, but I'm going to learn the lesson quick.
I was there to blaze a path of bad decisions that you could just avoid.
Some of them I did. Some of them I didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of them I made the same path. Hey, it's different, so it's not the same. No, it's the same. But that's okay. But back to the NIL. I don't like the NIL being a recruiting tool, because I don't like kids getting paid that haven't done anything to earn that money.
Well, and
it bugs me a lot.
It's something, whether it's the NCAA or whether it's a new organization, they're going to have to deal with this, because I think in the long term, they're going to find out this is just horrific. Not just bad.
When I guarantee I'm going to get comments too about, Kyle, you're an idiot for saying this. Like, you're just jealous, whatever you want to say about me. That's not the case. What I'm saying is, and I don't believe there is fairness in the world. I believe everybody gets an opportunity, and life isn't fair, and that's okay. We learn to work around it, right? We have to carve our own path. I'm a big believer in that. What I do truly believe in this situation not being fair is these kids haven't done anything to earn this money. It's the same issue that happened in the NFL. You have these people that have done nothing to earn this money, and yet you have superstars in this league that are not getting the same deals. So you're paying somebody based on potential when you have somebody there who's proven time and time again that they are reliable and that they are a superstar, and they are not getting these same NIL deals that these kids are that haven't done anything in college football yet. That is not fair. If you have not earned that money, you should not be getting that money. I don't believe in paying people on potential. I believe I'm paying people for success.
That's a great place to end the show.
Do you think I'm wrong?
No,
Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't, because I've been saying it to you for years and years and years. I'm glad you agree with me.
I don't, again, and another reason for it is these kids, they're 18-year-olds. They're not smart enough to make the right decision. And who knows the background that they have behind them for reasons for making decision.
Well, and we're ending the show here, but the one other thing I'd say about that is because there's nobody around these kids to say, look, this is not a good thing. And it's something you have to experience.
It is.
And life isn't fair. And you've got to learn from making bad decisions. You learn way more from that than you do from your successes.
And it's not the kid's fault here. I mean, this is nothing against these kids that are getting paid. If you have money in front of you, take it and run. But what we've lost, I think, a sense in that adults are there to make rules because the kids don't have the life experience to make the right decisions.
You just put your finger on it. There's no adults anymore think they have the right to tell a kid no.
In some situations.
In most situations. Have you seen a teacher discipline a student? No, because they'll get yelled at. And they should be able. It goes back to the story you and I lived way back in the day.
I never got hit.
Dude.
I was kicked out of classes.
You were, and I supported it. I told your teachers that, but we were driving past a gas station and a kid threw a snowball at us that had rocks in the car. I pulled over. I freely admit my temper got the best of me.
Yes.
The kid challenged me and said, you can't do a thing to me. That was the fuse, and it was lit, and I slapped the kid.
Well, it was an accident. You put your hands up and hit him in the face because he got too close.
I slapped him and then went, oh my God, I'm going to be arrested.
Listen, I don't know what the stipulation is for this on time that has passed, so I'm trying to protect you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But fortunately,
the parents came up and thanked you afterwards. That was the difference.
Yes, because the kid had never been taught that before. He'd never been disciplined.
No.
And it was...
And I remember the conversation because they knocked on our house, and I'm like, cool, Dad's about to get arrested. And it was the parent that came up to you. It shocked me, and it taught me a valuable lesson because she came up and actually made the kid apologize to you. He was a classmate of mine. Made him apologize to you, and the mom said, I apologize. That won't happen again. And she even said, I don't necessarily agree with what you did, but I understand why you did.
I didn't agree with what I did after I did it.
You said that too, and you apologized to the kid as well for overreacting, and he apologized to you, and everybody moved on. That's the life I grew up with.
But now that would never happen. I would be
arrested. Yeah, you would be arrested. It's a different time, but it
doesn't mean
go on for this forever. Back to the NIL though. It's putting kids in dangerous situations to make the wrong decisions, to be taken advantage of. We hear this all the time with child actors, right? This is no different. It's really not. It's young kids that can easily be taken advantage of in situations because they don't have the life experience and they don't always have the best support system behind them to tell them, hey, you need to be thinking better about this.
They need parents that are there that are thinking this is about you, it's not about me, and that doesn't always happen.
Well, and also kids that listen to parents. My wife's got me reading a ton of parenting books where it talks about that in the transition from kids now, where kids think they know better than adults, right?
Oh, they've always thought that. That's not new. Kids that are teenagers think they know all the answers, and it's amazing.
The difference is my generation did. The new generations don't.
Yeah. On that note,
let me know if you agree. We went off on many tangents here, but it wouldn't be a great year anniversary if we didn't go off on random squirrel tangents. So you let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. It is time to end the show. I am going, for the first time to end this year, going to steal the last word from you.
Steal away.
So, I started my diet on the 26th.
I don't like where this is going.
I hate it. I have tons of headaches because apparently I ate way too much sugar. If you're looking at getting up sugar, wean yourself off of it, please, because it wrecks your body if you're used to eating a lot of sugar and then weaning yourself off of it. You were supposed to start with me. We said that on the show. You promised me. I come out, I'm eating my ground turkey, broccoli, and rice. You, on the other hand, have options in front of you. There's chicken. There is ground turkey.
Chicken and biscuits.
My house, there's chicken and biscuits. My house is stacked with things. Your house is now stacked with things. We went on special grocery shopping trips. What did you eat for dinner?
What did you
last
give me?
night? I didn't give you anything.
I had pizza last night, and then I had a
pizza?
little dessert.
You had pizza for dessert.
I did not.
You had pizza for dessert.
Look,
what did you eat first?
Sue me. I actually ate 2 pieces of pizza, and then I had a piece of Marie Callender apple pie because it's fabulous.
1 piece? You ate half that pie.
I did not.
You at least a quarter of that pie. That piece was a big piece.
Okay, Marie Callender's pies,
they're
are
great.
Insane. The crumble
Yes.
topping. If you haven't tried them, other than mine, because your son in front of his mom who bought an apple pie said, "Oh, look what I've got for you." Oh, Grandpa's is way better.
Grandpa's is the best apple pie ever. Yes. He
And
said that many times. He said that to my mom, his grandma, as well.
Well, and that
Who
I don't
didn't
mi-
also react well to it.
that I don't mind at all. I think that
And
I always made it.
God bless him, he stood his ground.
Yeah, I love my grandson.
He stood his
And
ground.
He's right, by the way. I do make good
You
apple
do
pies.
make a good apple pie. But the trick is, it's also there in front of me. And I didn't eat it.
I'm proud of you.
So why are you eating it? You promised.
I promised I would cut back and I would do the exercises, which I am doing. I am doing my planks and my bird dogs.
I believe you.
Try to strengthen the core.
I believe you. You are not following any sense of a diet.
That's not true. That is not true. I mean, I would eat cookies morning, noon, and night.
True.
I am not eating them.
Fair.
If
It's
I,
a start. I don't expect you to cut like I am. I don't
can't cut out
expect you to
sugar.
stop.
I am guilty as
What I
charged.
do expect, though,
Half my
is
body
for
weight is
you
sugar.
not to eat apple pie for dinner.
I didn't. I had pizza. A little.
You had Domino's pizza. You had 2 pieces of Domino's pizza and a quarter of a pie.
It was so good.
I'm sure it was. It looked delicious. And I don't even care if you have a piece of pie. I really don't. It's your life. You do what you want. But I am going to throw a fit if you're going to have an entire quarter of a pie for dinner.
Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. I have.
We're going to work on it.
I have little willpower when it comes to dessert, but we're a couple days before New Year's Eve, and as our tradition has been the last 5 years, I am making prime rib.
Prime rib for New Year's.
It is aging
It
in
is.
the refrigerator,
I've seen it.
and I am looking forward to it. It's a great way to end the year, and I am a firm believer you never eat poultry on New Year's Eve, because if you do, you'll be scratching for money the whole year through.
You got it.
It's what my mom always taught me. So I always eat beef or pork.
Yeah, but you haven't said I'm going to start
I'm working.
the diet on.
I'm starting the exercising,
Okay.
and I am started that.
Okay.
It's still the holiday season, so I don't have to give up all the.
You do you. I just am going to call you out on this show
You just did.
forever on this.
Okay.
Because you made a promise in front of the entire world.
Fine, I will cut it back. Tell your wife not to make pies anymore.
I can't. She's going to do what she's going to do. It's my problem, not theirs. It's your problem, not anybody else's. You deal with it.
It's almost jelly bean season again.
That is the most dangerous season for you and me both. Starburst jelly beans are the greatest candy on the face of the earth.
I like Brock's jelly beans.
I will cheat on Easter with strawberry jelly beans. But thank you so much for a full year of Sports Talk with Dad, for being with our random tangents, for our exciting yet terrifying last words, for everything throughout the season and throughout the year.
Even better.
Next year is going to be even better. We have some great things coming your way, so don't forget to tune in. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching Sports Talk with Dad. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.